Anti-dilution clause. Companies that are getting started will often find their first investors will give them a chunk of money, and the investors will get, say, 5% of a company or 10% of a company. And then later on, they'll be looking, as the companies grow, for other investors to come in and also support the company. But the initial investors don't want the other investors to overwhelm their initial equity position. So there's something that they put in called an anti-dilution clause, which means that the initial investor with the initial equity that they purchase, say 5% of a company, can't be diluted to less than 5% unless they just don't actively follow and invest at the same rate that the later investors are investing, the same dollars per share. So it's a way for the early investor to protect their initial investment from subsequent dilution by continuing to invest in the company. So say you have a company that has raised $500,000, and say I put in the initial $250,000 into your company, and you had an assortment of other angels that put in the other $250,000. And say your valuation was at a $3 million valuation, so you've given up 16% of the company. With my $250,000, I would have gotten 8% of that company on that initial investment. Going forward, say the next round of financing that you did, you were to raise, say, $2 million on a $10 million valuation. In order for me to keep my same 8.33% of your company, I would need to contribute 8% of the $2 million, another $160,000, just like any other investors who would be investing in that round. And I would be able to keep my percentage of the company at that same initial 8% that I'd originally purchased. So that is what's considered an anti-dilution clause. The ability of an investor to keep, by putting in their pro rata on every round, to keep their equity percentage of the company at the same amount.
VC Lingo. Lingo.